like to invite the choir and anyone in the chancellors to please come and sit in the congregation for a while. This morning we have heard a story that's very familiar to us, isn't it? The story of the prodigal son, of somebody who's wandered away, spent all of his inheritance, comes back home and is welcomed with open arms, with love and with grace. And so, because the story is so familiar, I'd like to spend some time this morning acting it out. So we're going to have what's called a congregational sermon. First, with the return of the prodigal son, and second, the return of the prodigal daughter. So that women and girls also can see that God's grace is open and equally available to them. So, first of all, are there any children here? I think they're mostly in Sunday school, right? Mostly in Sunday school. So, any teenagers around? A few teens? All right, would you mind being the pigs this morning? At 8 o'clock, there were a few kids who were really good at, making pig noises. So I just need a few people who are really stellar at doing this. And if you could just go back by the baptismal font and oink. All right? Just go ahead and do that. Just a few. I just need a few people. If there's an adult or two who would like to join them, that's cool. We have 2 adults. All right? So that's going to be the pig farm, that area back there. Okay, so let's just give it a shot. Let me hear the pigs. Very good. Excellent. Okay. So you'll know when it's time. I'll give you a cue for you to be able to learn. All right, now I need 3 volunteers. 1 for the prodigal son, 1 for the older son, and 1 for the father. So I'm first of all going to just wait a moment and see if 3 gentlemen appear, and if not, then I shall randomly choose. Yes, come forward, please. Thank you very much. Would you like to be the prodigal son?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. Who would like to be the older brother? All right, here we go. Okay, so Andrew's going to be the older brother. Are you guys brothers? Oh, okay, good. Okay, I just want to make sure something wasn't getting played out here. All right. And what about the father? Who would like to be the father? Okay, Bob? Would you come forward? This is my husband. I can always count on Bob to come forward, so I'm going to ask Bob to come forward. Now, the way that we're setting up the space is that the chancel area is actually going to be the home. So, the father, go up here, and you guys would both go up in the home initially, okay? And then we have a few temptations I need to plant in the congregation. Okay, a leather jacket. A pretty nice smartphone.
Is it mine that's missing?
And then I have a little packet of sugar, but it's supposed to be cocaine. These are some temptations in contemporary life. Clothing, technology, drugs. Right? Sounds pretty reasonable. So I'm just going to retell the story in a very simple way, and our characters are just going to walk through the motions. They don't have to say a thing unless they choose to. It's the pigs we'll hear. Once, there was a father who had 2 sons. He loved them so much, he loved them equally. One day, the younger of the sons said to his father, "I'm ready to go out on my own. Give me my inheritance." And the father went and got the inheritance and divided it equally, gave half to the younger son and half to the older son. The older son dutifully went out into the fields to continue. The younger son thought, "This is great. I can get out of this place now." So he started on his journey. And he took some of that money, and along the way, somebody tempted him with a really cool jacket. So he paid, put it on, felt pretty sharp and powerful, decided he would continue on his journey toward where he wanted to go, and then came across somebody who was selling a pretty good iPhone. Paid him $1. And then last of all, he came across somebody who had some cocaine. And he said, "That's really good. I have arrived."
That'll get you half.
In the course of time, he squandered his entire inheritance and had nothing left and ended up working in a pig farm. And one day, after too many hours rolling in that mud with the pigs, he realized that he could do better than that. That in fact, even if he was one of his father's servants, he would be treated better. But the question for him was, would he be welcomed back home? How would he be received after having squandered his inheritance and gone far away from that place of love? So he left everything that he had purchased at the pig farm with the pigs, and he began his journey back home. Now, when he got part way back home, the father saw his youngest son, the one who he thought was dead, alive. The one who thought was lost, now found, and he rushed to greet him. He was so happy to have his son home. He gave him a fine coat, a ring on his finger. He called to the servants and said, "Come, let's get the fatted calf. Let's have a feast and a banquet." They were so overjoyed. But at the same time, the older son, who had been steadily working in the field, got wind of this and was not very happy. He came back and he had words with his father and said, "Who am I, chopped liver?" And the father said, "Wait a minute. The son who we thought was dead is alive. The one who we thought was lost is found. That's why we have to celebrate." Now, we don't really know how this family unit spun out in the future, do we? All we know is that there was a son who walked away from a place of love and grace, squandered everything, and was welcomed home with love and grace. And we also know that there was an older son who was working dutifully, who also was given his inheritance, but had never had a fat calf killed for him in acknowledgement It's a tough life, he says. It's a tough life. So you see, you can enter the story through the lens of either of three characters, at least, if not more areas. The prodigal son, you can understand what it's like to wander away from God's grace and to be welcomed back home and forgiven. Or you might find yourself identifying with a father who in fact has welcomed somebody back home. Or you would identify with that love because you've known it. Or you could be the older son who has always shown up and done the right thing and feels a little bit resentful and angry. There's no right or wrong. It's just a parable and however you choose to enter the parable. Now, I'd like the three of you actually to sit. Why don't you sit over here? Because you're going to be interviewed in a little while after the return of the prodigal daughter. Don't be anxious. All right. So, who would like to be the prodigal daughter?
Yeah, James.
James.
James? Okay, James. Who would like to be the older sister? What about the fatted calf? Who would like to be the older sister? Okay, please come forward. And who would like to be the mother? Who would like to be the mother? Yeah, come forward, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so the plans are... Okay, a board start for thousands, I'm sure. Lovely clean. But for this, already is in line. Once there was a mother who had two daughters. She loved them so much, and she loved them equally. But one day, the younger daughter decided to venture out on her own, and so she went to the mother and said, "Give me half of your inheritance, the portion for me." So the mother did, and then she turned and did the same thing for the older daughter, gave her half of the inheritance. Now the older daughter decided just to go back out into the field and to continue her steady work. But the younger daughter thought, all right, time to party. And so she began on a journey. And on that journey, she took part of her inheritance. She was tempted to buy, along the way, a shawl worth thousands of dollars. She squandered some of her inheritance for it. She went on a little bit further, and there was another temptation. Cream, guaranteed, so you'd never have a wrinkle in your life. And went on until she saw some bling. And the bling was so beautiful, she said, that's it. I am going to give all of what I have for my inheritance. Now, after a bit of time, she was really tired and hungry. She didn't have any other resource to draw from. So she went to a farmer's house. He was a pig farmer and hired her to care for the pigs. And after too many days in the pig farm, she decided, I could do better than this. Maybe if I go back home So she left all of her stuff there. And made her way back home. And as she was coming down the pathway, her mother saw the youngest daughter and greeted her warmly. She thought to herself, the daughter I thought was dead is alive. The one I thought was lost is now found. She put a beautiful coat on her, a cloak, and gave her a ring and called to the servants and said, bring out a fatted calf. Let's have a party. Well, the older daughter got wind of it and was not very happy. And came back and had words with the mother. And the mother said, I know you're jealous, but listen, your younger sister, we thought she was dead and she's alive. We thought she was lost forever and she's found. How can we not celebrate? So, let's bring cows back out. And let's have the prodigal son and daughter stand here, and mother and father stand here, and then the older siblings stand here. And I just want to ask you, briefly what it was like to be in your particular role and how you felt. What was it like to be the prodigal son or prodigal daughter?
That's actually the one that I associate with the most, because we're always messing up no matter how well we try. So.
That's true, yeah.
And it just felt like my own life.
Yeah, we're always messing up, we're always wandering away. Yeah. Did it feel good to come home?
Yes. I knew I would be welcomed back, but I was still ashamed of myself.
Ashamed of yourself, yeah. Thank you. What about you?
It wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it. When did you know that?
Because that just passes. It's not something that stays with you.
Yeah.
No value.
No value. No value. What was it like to be the mother?
Oh, it was joyful to have them come back.
Yeah.
It was worth everything.
Worth everything. So joyful to welcome the daughter back. Yeah. What was it like to be the father, Bob?
I was surprised. I was ready to give it away. I found myself unsure about what was going on. And I was happy to see the son who had left, and still couldn't figure out how to be with the son who stayed.
Couldn't figure out how to be with the son who stayed. Yeah, really a quandary.
I felt like I got stiffed by the old man.
You got stiffed. You got stiffed by the old man.
I got to tweet about it.
Yeah, to tweet about it, okay.
I wasn't acting.
I wasn't acting. That's wonderful. So you know what it feels like?
Oh, indeed.
Indeed.
Well, it's where I stayed in that place for a long time.
Okay.
It's very hard to give up that.
It's very hard to, why? Why is it hard to give up that place?
Because we're selfish. I'm selfish. I can't speak for the rest of the world.
Yeah, there, there is a benefit to kind of playing out that role, if you think about it. So, as we pull this story together, this parable, just reflect on this in your own lives, where you enter this parable. Are you the one who's wandering? Are you the one who's welcoming? Are you the one who, feels like you got the short end of the deal? And none of those is bad or good. They just are. But God is with us always, welcoming us back home. And with us in our bewilderment, and in our resentment, in our jealousy, in our wandering.